The two primary roles in Blind Insight are data owners and data requesters. The data owner having full access to data that's uploaded to the platform with the ability to encrypt, decrypt, and perform encrypted searches using a keyring that is maintained by the Blind Proxy application that is the go-between between your data and the Blind Insight service. The data requester is a user that may only perform encrypted searches, and they may not decrypt or upload any data. What we've got here on our demo platform is demonstrating what it might look for you to be running the Blind Proxy in your own environment with your own keyring installed. And so we'll go ahead and hop in here and look at what that looks like. So we'll start with the data sets here, and we have a medical data set. The medical data set here is like a database. Data sets in Blind Insight are collections of schemas, just like how databases are collections of tables. And so if we go ahead and click through to the medical data set, we see how we have a number of schemas here. A schema in Blind Insight is actually a JSON document. So I'll go ahead and click here for starters to just demonstrate what that looks like. We'll click the new schema button in the top right. And you see here that we can create a new schema and give it a name. We've got this JSON object here. This is a JSON schema document, and this is what you would use to define the shape of the data that goes into your schema. This schema is used to also map keys using your cryptographic keyring to fields in your schema when the data is uploaded. To show what this looks like, you see that this schema is defining a type of object as two fields, a name and an age field. These are called properties. But the name is of type string and the age is of type number. We have a minimum and a maximum value there. This is important for the way that we're able to do encrypted searches using Blind Insight. Additionally, this object requires a name and an age. Now we're not going to demonstrate this type of object. This is just an example. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and go back to the list here, or the schemas for this data set. I'm going to demonstrate the wearable schema. Upon clicking the wearable schema, you see that it shows us the fields and the types of fields in the data set. Each field is listed by name and then its type. The fields are all mapped to unique keys. Additionally, there's one specialized key called the query key, and that's the one that the data requester has access to. What we're going to do is go ahead and just click up here to the records. And by default, we'll observe that the records are decrypted. This means that the cryptographic keyring provided by the proxy server, the Blind Proxy as it's called, has been detected, and it passes keys along and decrypted the data as it came back from the API. If we toggle this encrypt results by clicking that button, you see that we get back all the encrypted data, and this is how it comes from the server. It's a very important point is that only encrypted data enters and leaves Blind Insight. At no point does clear text data ever enter or leave the system. Only once the data gets to your proxy can it be decrypted using your keys. We do not have your keys, and we can never see your data. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is demonstrate an encrypted search. Up here in the top left, we're going to choose a stress value here. We'll just do a range to demonstrate that we can do numeric ranges. I'm going to choose a value from 4 to 6, and then we're going to choose HRV average. We're looking for people who are of moderate stress and whose HRV is below average, so we'll say below 60. And so you see here we've got 100 records. We'll go ahead and click filter here. And you see that it filters this down to 14 records. Now, if I go ahead and toggle decryption again and decrypt the records here, you see that the proxy then does the decryption. And if we were to sort by the stress value, we see that it starts at 4 and stops at 6. And then additionally with HRV average over here on the left, we see that we've got nothing more than 60. What I'm going to do is demonstrate what happens from the data requester's perspective. So that's in this other browser. You see I'm logged in as the data requester. I'll go and do the same thing over here. We'll click through the wearable schema. We'll click through the records. And you see that they are actually not decrypting. And you see also that the decrypt results button is disabled because the proxy has not detected the keys to be able to decrypt these fields. So we're perform the same search, the stress value of 4 to 6. Let's make this window a little bigger. And then we do an HRV average of less than 60 in the same way we did it before. And then click filter. You see that we get the same set of 14 results. The Blind Proxy is an application. What I'll do is I'll switch to the terminal and demonstrate the blind command, which is the Blind Proxy. The Blind Insight CLI provides a number of porcelain commands here. We're going to cover these right now. We're not going to cover the Open API commands right now. I just wanted to point out one thing. If you notice that any of these words here are singular, that means that these are the bespoke user-friendly commands, whereas these pluralized words are the underlying primitives and more advanced commands that talk directly to the API. So what we're going to do is go ahead and demonstrate first the blind proxy. We run blind proxy with the help argument, and you see that what's happening is that this is showing you the command line arguments. If we were to not provide the help flag, that would run the proxy server locally. And that is exactly what's happening here, is that we're in the demo environment, we're running the blind proxy in the deployed instance on the cloud. That's meant to emulate, as I'd said before, what it would be like if you were to run your own instance on premise, for example, with your own keyring for your environment. So we'll go back to this. And so just to mirror kind of this experience of what we had for starters, if we want to look at the data sets that we've got, we can run the blind dataset list command. And this will show us our medical data set. You see there that it's got this name and this slug. Now this is important to point out. Every object has a human readable name that can be whatever you want that's unique to your organization. And the machine readable name, the slug. When we're interacting with the service, we want to use the slug, so I wanted to point that out. Similarly, if we want to list the schemas, we call it use blind schema list. And you see here that we get a number of schemas back, and this coincides with the ones that we saw here in the user interface when we click through to the medical data set. So lastly, we want to search records or list records. So what we can do is we can do blind record list, and we tell the organization, this is the demo organization, the data set would be the medical data set, and then the schema is the wearable schema. I'll just do limit of 5, so show us the first 5 records in this data set, or in the schema specifically. And you see that what we get back here is a bunch of encrypted blobs. This isn't all that interesting looking at encrypted data, right? So what we can do here is then decrypt the data by passing the decrypt flag. And then what happens is the proxy returns decrypted data. That's also pretty cool, but not as interesting. I had demonstrated search in the user interface. So let's go ahead and perform that same search that we did before. And that was specifically this. We'll use the filter flag to filter on those values. So it was stress, and then we'll use a colon, and it was 4 to 6. The tilde operator is the range operator. And then if we do a filter again on HRV average less than 60, we run this command. And what should happen is we should get 14 records back. This looks like it's about 14. But then what we want to do is go ahead and pass that decrypt flag again. And you see that it has decrypted those records. So that concludes this demo. Thank you very much.